Oh, the screen went off. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. The Township of Severn, we recognize the following land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather and which the Township of Severn operates is part of the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. For thousands of years, Indigenous peoples have been inhabiting and caring for this land. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Ojibwe or Chippewas peoples. This territory is covered by the Lake Simcoe Treaty 16 and the J. Collins land purchase. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. We'll now sing O Canada, please.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
A moment of reflection, please. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? So none. Public meetings, hearings, none. We do have a presentation today. Welcome, Orillia Public Library Board. And you can come up here. Thank you.
I can move it in here. Do you want me to restart? Sure. Yep. So hello again. I'm Megan Wilkinson, the CEO of the Orillia Public Library. With me is Deborah Watson, Library Board Chair. So today we are here to share our 2024 annual report to highlight some of the amazing things the library and our communities have done together. Now, it's a pretty lengthy report, and while I would love to go through all of it with you, it would take more than 10 minutes. So I'm just going to highlight a few things in it today. Next slide, please. So starting off, our library visits, we are up almost 18,000 more visitors in 2024 than in 2023. So over 209,000 library visits last year, which is pretty amazing. Next slide, please. And the community continues to check both digital and physical items out. We have communities that love to read. We are still above our circulation stats pre-pandemic, which is important to note. And of course, e-resources have increased since then, which I think is to be expected, but people are still checking out physical books as well. Next slide, please. Our Makerspace and Human Service Coordinator programs have added to our programming, which has increased it to over 5,000 programs in 2024. And this has given us the opportunity to connect with more than 34,000 participants in those programs. Programs include early literacy, digital literacy, Coffee and Connect, Nerf nights, makerspace programs, teen volunteers, so many different programs that meet the needs of our communities. Next slide, thank you. And we have a very curious community. We were asked more than 26,000 questions than the year before, so over 100,000 last year. And these are beyond simple wayfinding. It's beyond where's the washroom. These are questions helping connect community members to organizations. It's answering technology help questions, book recommendations, research assistance, way more intricate than just where they can find a simple solution. And with summer coming up, I'll do a quick plug too for our 2025 Summer Reading Club, which begins July 2nd. In 2024, we were able to connect with 717 individual children and youth for our TD Summer Reading Club, and we reported more than 24,000 times. That means library staff are engaging with readers and talking about the books that they're reading to help get them excited and also adding to reading comprehension. So it's an extremely important program that our communities are very excited about every year. We have them starting to ask usually the end of May when the next one's going to start. Next slide, thank you. So after a decade of running our award-winning Remembrance Day program, we had our last event in 2024. We included collectors and historians who provided interactive opportunities to learn about our history. Over the 10 years, we saw more than 13,000 students and members of the public come through this fantastic event. We're a little bit sad to see it go, but it was becoming a little bit too big for us, and we'll still do something to honor Remembrance Day, just not quite on that same scale. Next slide, thank you. We were so thrilled to receive the 2024 Minister's Award for Innovation in recognition of our Human Service Coordinator program. Orillia is very fortunate to have this role. We're one of very few mid-sized public libraries who have a Human Service Coordinator on staff. And among the many things this position does includes system navigation, outreach, programming, and one-on-one assistance to anyone in the community who needs it, not just those experiencing homelessness. It's anyone who needs some assistance. Our children and youth staff also created an early literacy program, Mini Kindies, to enhance school readiness. One parent after the program commented that they were worried that because their child hadn't gone to daycare or preschool, they wouldn't be ready for school. They found that the Mini Kindy program offered valuable social experiences and early learning opportunities, which helps smooth that transition into kindergarten. Next slide, please. Our emerging technologies librarian created the program, What the Heck is AI? Which helps demystify some of the basic principles of AI. It was very well attended, and attendees came away feeling a little bit less scared about AI and a little bit more knowledgeable. Still lots to learn, but it's one of the beginning digital literacy programs that we'll be offering on AI. Our amazing TD Summer Reading Club added Makerspace programming to the lineup in 2024. These opportunities allowed kids, teens, and families to see what the Makerspace can do. The majority of the programs were kept free to make sure that they were accessible to all, and this was funded through grants and donations. We see many families in the Makerspace, more than we thought when we opened the Makerspace doors and working on projects together. The 3D printer is a favorite for children and families. PD days, you will often see grandparents and grandchildren in there connecting. And finally, the OPL was grateful to participate in the 4th annual community walk and gathering. This event began at the library parking lot where elders led smudging ceremony, and we remembered the children who were taken and lost at residential schools. As we walked down to Couchiching Beach, elders encouraged walkers to smile because we were remembering together. The walk concluded at the park, where I had the privilege of reading the orange shirt story to the crowd. And so these are some of the amazing things that we've done in 2024. 2025 is off to a good start too. Thank you so much for listening, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Megan. Great presentation. Any questions? Councillor Brennan, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for your presentation. I love your library. We use it all the time. And it's just great. What you do is fabulous. I don't even need this presentation to know that. I have two questions for you, though. I would like to know how we fare in numbers in terms of Severn's participation in the program. And secondly, we're always hearing on the radio about threats to library staff and so forth, security issues. It's quite local. Where do you stand there? Are things okay with you guys? And do you have to pivot to some other way to operate because of it? So those are my two questions.
Well, thank you. So I'll start with numbers. So Severn is about 14% of our card holders, which is still pretty good. It's actually comparable to Orillia, which is another township that we contract with. In terms of program access, I'm not sure because many of our programs are drop-ins, so we don't necessarily take cardholder information, but definitely lots of Severn Township cardholders. And we do look at usage. We provide that to the Severn Library Board as well, and quite a bit of usage of those cardholders. And also, just to add to that too, I do believe we have some Severn schools that participate in our Battle of the Books program as well. So we offer that to not just Orillia, but Orillia, Severn schools to participate. So we see many children from those schools in. In terms of threats, that's definitely, it's a big one for public libraries right now. Again, we are very fortunate that we have a human service coordinator. So we've had that position since 2022. It started as a pilot, and this was in response to growing behaviors we were seeing at the library. And Orillia Council had suggested we looked at an outreach worker versus security guards. And so we went this way. We hired, at the time, she was a social worker, and we saw an immediate drop of incidences. So what we were noticing was that many of the behaviors we were seeing, they almost resulted from being at the end of the rope, right? So we had people who were who they had nowhere else to go. They had gone through all the places they could go and they had nothing left. And so by the time we were asking them to maybe stay awake, it was an explosion. But because now we have another solution for them, we can bring them down to our human service coordinator or give them a card or let them know when they can meet with her. It's really helped to de-escalate situations. Now we're seeing completely different situations now than pre-pandemic. The community definitely is in a different place. So we are still struggling a little bit. Definitely times, evenings and weekends when we have a little bit less staff. So we have up some of our safety procedures. We have safety drills, and we drill them at least once a year with staff, so that if something happens, staff are prepared, which also increases, of course, public safety, because that's an aspect of those procedures. So it's something that the leadership talks about all the time. The board talks about regularly. But right now we're pretty happy with our human service coordinator and the work that they've accomplished.
If I may, there was also additional training for staff. And that's an ongoing situation where they get involved in different types of training to help with the de-escalation, as well as being prepared for the different activities that come in.
Any other Councillor Minis?
Thank you through the mayor. Thanks for the presentation. It's a pleasure to be on your board as a rep of this group here on the council. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what's in store for 2025 and perhaps even some of the partnerships. I know that my colleague Councillor Brennan sits on the physician recruitment team and well, I think over the last 2 or 3 years anyway, they've had their gala there. So just a little bit of a um, other focus on some of the things that are happening and in the works. Thanks.
So yes, the physician recruitment definitely is a big one. So we actually did that pre-pandemic as well. We had to take a break during the pandemic, of course, but definitely a great way to showcase the library. We partner with so many different organizations right now, again, because of all the challenges in the community. Many of them are social. So we have Empower Simcoe that comes in and does some drop-in sessions. We work with Information Orillia, who were able to kind of connect people back and forth. They are a mailing address for many individuals who don't have mailing addresses. We often connect with many smaller organizations. Well, I guess OSPCA isn't smaller, but some that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think of, so that we're able to share and just further both of our reach with who we're coming across. Makerspace is always a big. We typically don't really partner there, but we always have really great plans. We have some extra equipment that we plan to purchase this year, which is really exciting. So any way that we can grow that space just adds to the community. We have lots of small businesses that come in and use that space to create prototypes or some small giveaways that they can use for their organization. And it's at a very minimal cost, which makes it very accessible, especially to some of our downtown businesses.
Any further comments?
Oh, yep. Oh, and outreach to seniors always, our housebound projects where we bring books to individuals' doors, but also to the retirement homes as well.
Okay, any further comments? So I just want to say, do you know who Ron Stevens is? Or was?
do.
Okay, so you know how instrumental he was with his council at the time to bring the library or expand it or build a new one, and he took a lot of flack for that. He did, but amazing the works that you do and what a library is today. Because at one point, not too many years ago, libraries were going to become obsolete when they realized that they are the hub of a community and they're much needed. So thank you very much to you and your board for everything that you do.
Thank you so much.
Clerk, do you have a motion?
It's just that the motion is that the delegation from the Orillia Public Library Board regarding their 2024 annual report be received for information.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Minning, second by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Madam Clerk, are we moving into closed session now? Thank you.
Okay, motion reads that committee resolve in a closed session that this meeting is hereby now closed to the public pursuant to the Municipal Act SO 2001, Chapter 25, Section 2392 for the purpose of considering litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality or local board.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? That's carried.
One moment. Okay, and we're gonna resume our broadcast.
Thank you, Gerlin. Thank you for having me. Off to another council. Tiny Township. Yeah, this afternoon.
Sarah, can you
They're
just,
lovely.
We're supposed to be at a golf, and you invited us to a golf tournament tomorrow.
I'm gonna be there tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah?
yes, I am.
Oh.
I'll bring a dinner, so.
okay,
If any of you are going, I'll see you there.
okay. So the motion is that closed session adjourned at 10:07 a.m. and the meeting is hereby now reopened to the public.
Mover and a seconder, please. Counselor Minnings, Counselor Brennan, all in favor? That's carried.
Okay. Motion reads the confidential planning report P 25-024 dated June 4th, 2025, with respect to an Ontario Land Tribunal OLT appeal files number OPA 2406 and A 2409 be received. And that township staff and the township solicitor be directed to proceed with informal mediation with potential to move to option number 2 if necessary, as set out in attachment 2 to confidential planning report P 25-024.
Counselor Jansen's gone. Where'd he go? Where is he?
I'm here. I'm not sure.
All right. Did you want to move that or no?
I can.
Would you like to move it? Okay. Moved by Counselor Jansen, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Okay, motion reads that the agenda be adopted, including consent items as circulated.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Counselor Taylor, second by Counselor McIntyre. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to reports from officials, planning and development, planning report number P25-025, Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Smarter and Faster Act. Who would like to start off? Councillor Ms. Vandeville.
Thank you through the mayor. This is another one of these bills that tries to change, I forget how many legislations here, a lot of them. So essentially the treasurer and I, we did are we having IT issues? The treasurer and I, we did a summary essentially just of the main two kind of things that we thought would have direct implications to Severn. You know, for example, the Transit Oriented Communities Act, that doesn't apply to us. We don't have any large transit stations. So we did I did a quick overview of the planning related things, and then there's a whole lot of development charge comments over from the Treasury Department. The bottom line, I think, from at least a planning point of view, is I don't see this making a huge impact for us in the planning world, especially not compared to all the other legislation we've seen. I do think we should forward a few comments that I've included there, although we did hear that this legislation is likely to pass very soon, despite the comment period still being open. So for whatever that's worth, I think I'll just leave the comments there. If anyone has any questions about what's written, I think the treasurer and I can try to speak to it.
Thank you, Katie. Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair to either, I don't know, CAO and someone here to help me. The letter to MPP Dunlop. That's great. And I agree with Katie. There are things that are in here that actually some of the things could be clarified and it will save a lot of ratepayers' time, like the minor variance ones. The development charges, well, you know what? That's the way it is. There's not much you can do. And no offense, I think development charges for large subdivisions are very necessary, but there should be a separate one for someone who's building on a lot on a road that everybody goes by all right anyway, because you're not doing anything. But down to the letter to the MPP is somehow in this letter, I would like someone to be able to craft to say, if we're going to do all these things to bend and hurry a process, how are we going to find out that the developer is actually going to be, things are going to cost less? Where is the cost effectiveness that's going to prove that we've been put through all these bills to make it faster for people to build and we've cut back? where is the developer in this? Where do we find out that because we've taken the bite for a lot of things, how do we know it's really going to make homes affordable? And is a developer just going to latch on to this and still charge the same price, but pay less to us and not have to do as much? And I think we deserve an answer from members of the government.
Madam CEO.
Thank you. I think that's a great point, and we can wind that into the letter. We know that development charges don't inhibit building houses. Houses sell for what the market will bear. So if the developer may take it as profit, or they may reduce the prices, which is unlikely, right? The market bears what the market bears, and it's not necessarily related to development charges. But we can craft something about that in that the developers have to be a partner in this. I think to your point, if we're a partner in helping and the province is a partner in helping, then the developers also have to be a partner in helping. So I think that's a great point.
Thank you very much.
Any further comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Thank you. The motion reads that planning report P25-025 dated June 4th, 2025 with respect to Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Smarter and Faster Act and associated ERO posting numbers 25-00461, 25-0462, 25-0463, and R25 MMAH 003 be received. And further, that staff be directed to make an ERO submission utilizing the draft letter included as attachment 2 to planning report P25-025.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cox, second by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on, Public Works Report W25-012, petition for drainage work update. So before I begin, what did I miss? Public Works Report number W25-11, Utah Line Service Repair. And before I begin, does everyone know our road super, Tim? Oh, did we? How did I miss that? Anyways, that was me waving in the morning last year on now we'll have to do 60 kilometers an hour. We can't do what we were doing. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Burke, did you want to speak to it? Go ahead.
I'll do my best here. So yeah, this section of road, due to the detour of Foxmead Bridge last year, really took a beating. Specifically the area going through, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the onion farm. Okay, going through there, we lost almost a half a lane. And if we don't do something with it, it's going to end up being like a Foxmead or a Crescent Bay. To those means where it's going to be repeated maintenance, and it's going to end up costing a heck of a lot more money in the next couple of years just to keep this thing afloat. So I'm recommending that we repair the surface in this one section for it's a relatively small cost compared to, say, a reconstruction in 5-10 years. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. Councillor Taylor.
I would support this. It makes sense. I drove by there yesterday and checked it out. And when are you going to start Foxmead? I know that the pylons are up and I'm getting all kinds of calls on that, but I would support your request, but just a quick question on Foxmead. Where are you starting and when, I guess?
So they have started it. Culverts have already been replaced this week. So there was a culvert on the end of Utah coming on to Foxmead and just down the road towards the trail as well. So they're making their way across, replacing the culverts, and then they'll be pulverizing.
Councillor Minnies.
Thank you through the mayor. Yeah, thank you, Tim, for your report and Derek for the work your department's doing. This is exactly what I'm really excited about is true fixes for our roads. I know how frustrating it must be to patch and then have, after 3 weeks of weather, have your fix washed away. So, and the price is surprisingly low, I believe, for this fix. So I do appreciate you bringing it forward at this time. What I would like to see at some point in the future, I know in my ward, the list of roads that are up for similar consideration, but I'm sure there are others across the township. So I don't know if we'll see that at budget time or whatever, but to try and get ahead, as like you said, Tim, about the eventual cost of having to do something more major is really appreciated. Thank you.
Any further comments? Deputy Mayor. Oh, Derek, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. So just to touch on that, our roads needs study is the format where we find, our recommendations. And this year is an update that we'll be bringing back to council this summer, just prior to also selecting the next year's road. So that's our plan throughout the summer.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yeah, I agree. I agree we should fix it. So we have $210,000 left. And so maybe there might be a road that is really bad that probably wasn't our fault. It might have been a developer's fault because it has some flooding and washout. It might be something we want to look at. But the other one too is I just want to thank you for all the barriers you put out for us. They were all where they were supposed to be. No offense. Some years we go behind the arena and then we go somewhere else. But anyway, thank you so much. It was absolutely perfect. You had them all out and ready to go. And it was great, Tim. Thank you.
Any further comments? So that's a great segue. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cox. So with the extra money, Mr. Burke, in Councillor Minning's ward, we're all aware of half a gray shot. That's a disaster. And if there's any way you can bring back, we do have a surplus, a cost for council's consideration, hoping that we can do that section of road. Okay, is that okay? We could possibly see that soon?
Yeah, through the chair, for Gray Shot, so we have it on our list for renewal in the future. Now, I think its date is like 2030, so that's probably too long.
Yes.
But this year, just to remind council, we have a budget line item in the capital works group is the geotechnical for the future year reconstruction projects. So our thought is to use the geotechnical exploration to really that particular area, similar to Cunningham Crescent, similar to Crescent Bay, is adjacent to the lake, the sort of west side of Couchiching, and has very, very poor founding soils. And so we're looking to make a recommendation that we can present to council on reconstructing these roadways, and having them last their full service life. That will be in the works for this year for Gray Shot, and a number of other roads that we've identified for future years. That geotechnical information will come back to council, similar with the roads needs study, so we can have a better handle on what the true costs of building these roads up are.
So further to those comments, do you think Gray Shot is a possibility this year?
No, through the chair, the geotechnical will be underway. So we'll advance some holes. We'll make sure that the subsoils can bear the weight of a pavement structure. That'll help us decide what the pavement structure is, and then we can present to council how much that will cost to repair. It'll be wildly larger than the remaining funds in this year's capital plan.
But I struggle with. I understand what we're trying to do, but I'm struggling with that one only because that road has to be 40 years old, if not longer. So it's held up because all we did use was tar and chip. Like even if we got 15 or 20, there isn't enough traffic down there to warrant spending. I understand where you're going with it, but I'd like to see something done this year. We've got extra funds. And I don't know how other members of council feel, like the road is a disaster. Like they deserve something other than what's down there now. Madam CEO.
What I'm hearing from the director in my non-technical language is that the base of the road isn't conducive to slapping some asphalt on top of it. I think in Utah, the road base is okay. I think he's suggesting that this is more like Cunningham, where the slopes are important and the underbase is important. So he's suggesting that we fix it right, which takes a longer process rather than stick some asphalt on top of it. If council wants to stick some asphalt on top of it, that's your prerogative. But I'm hearing the director say that's not a good idea.
And I understand that and respect that, but what are we doing with Crescent Bay? Because it's the same road, identical.
So through the chair, actually, if you recall our budget discussions from last year, it is this where we aren't actually addressing the underlying soil issue. again. So what we did to Cunningham Crescent is the recommendations. Advancing Crescent Bay in this year in this format outside of the original recommendations of the roads need study did have a lower expected service life. So we expect that road to have a shorter life. If we do the same treatment to Gray Shot, we would expect that again to have a lower service interval. It's just that, you know, we don't recommend professionally to do this approach. However, this approach can be used. I think, you know, the CAO noted we can take a like a non-standard approach and get things more black. It's just not what you would do typically from a geotechnical and pavement structural perspective.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
I understand, but Cunningham Crescent is way different than Gray Shot. That's a busy road. There's lots of houses and they go around that road. This one is not that busy. And the other problem with this road is live. That path they put through is higher and they've already caused flooding. I mean, it's been in the paper. Well, you know, there it is. We've got flooding and Liv is, I believe Liv has some responsibility in this case. I mean, they got a playground that's got a pool around it and a lake on the other side of it. But if there's just something with roads that don't have that much traffic on it, I don't believe that we need to do the specification of ones that have a lot of traffic. And I understand there's probably a book, you and I talk about the book, but I just believe that if it's just a mess and if we can do something to keep it going for 5-10 years, there may be another project out there that with, you know, not a Foxmead, but that style with a lot more traffic on it that we can look after it. Thanks.
Councillor Minnings.
Hi, thank you through the mayor. So there is, and this is for the clerk's knowledge too, I haven't shared with her, but over the past week or so, there's been some conversations back and forth I've had with residents who've asked me about coming to council. So I've provided them with the link for the delegation, et cetera, and your contact information specific to Gray Shot Road. This and the fact that it appeared in the paper yesterday is just, you know, par for the course. I think it's been on our radar for over 2 years, that part of the road and sort of what's happening. The one thing that and I can't speak for the residents, and I'd like to hear what they say when they come forward. They actually live and experience that road daily, is that perhaps a more permanent solution is the best way to go, as what I'm hearing the director tell us, and that a conversation or something maybe for bigger than filling in potholes could be a good solution for some of the money that's still remaining in the budget, so that they're seeing that we're working with them. We've heard, we know what their experience is. Any of us with cars having to drive in roads, and they're across the township just because of weather, not through any fault of anyone's, is that they really do a number on cars and can cause damage. So I think that's probably a reasonable request if the residents do actually come and do a delegation. I don't know if that would happen. But the other thing that I read, and again, I'm not sure if it was in the paper or Orillia Matters, which is where it was in the paper yesterday, or if it was the comments in the after the Orillia Matters article, or if it was on Facebook, because as you all know, I'm very active on that. I was reading about it on Facebook. Is somebody had made a comment, and I don't know if this is fact or not, is that on the wetlands, so on the opposite side of the lake where the park and everything is that it looks like there are lot lines developed. I forget how the comment was worded. So if that's the case, and there's a potential for homes to line eventually both sides, I would agree that we wait and do a more permanent fix until after any further buildings going on. So I think those are all considerations, but I do defer to your best advice for an immediate fix. And then I'm glad to hear that it could be moved up in the road transportation study beyond where it's at now, which is 5 or 6 years out. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a couple of different things, and staff want to be able to make good, well, you know, make best recommendations. But at the end of the day, you know, the service levels are set by council and projects are accepted by council. So my recommendation here might be to report back as soon as we can on the costs to do these roads in a couple of different options, right? And try to explain that, a lower cost now may just mean that you have to replace it again faster in the future, which is okay. But let's look at the life cycle cost analysis. How many dollars per year do you get out of your investment into these roads, and then we can make a decision. So I think we'll report back, we'll get you a cost, a couple options. We are going to advance that geotechnical exploration because we have that in our budget this year for this and many other locations, so we can make good sound decisions on how to build these roads with exactly what they need and not sort of estimate.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yep. I would be interested to find out from planning, but I don't think you can build there. That's a wetland. Is it not through the chair to?
I can answer that, Derek. So what happened before your tender here? The owner of that property went and put hookups for sewers all along there. So they did that on assuming they could build there, but they shouldn't have. They can't build there. Those lands are protected. They're there, but they're protected. CAO.
I'm just going to bring you back to Utah line because that's the item on the agenda. We've heard that there's another road that you would like some more information on. We'll take that as direction, but let's get back to the topic at hand, please.
Perfect. It's just that we had a surplus. We were speaking to the surplus. And hopefully we'll get that report very quickly back so that we can move forward with Gray Shot. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, any further comments? No further comments. Do you have a motion?
Thank you. The motion reads that Public Works Report W25-011 dated May 22nd, 2025, with respect to Utah line service repair be received, and further that the mid-year capital addition for the repair of Utah line in the amount of $66,000 be accepted, and further that the project be funded from the capital reserve.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Minnings, second by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to Public Works Report W25-012 petition for drainage work update. Mr. Burke.
Okay, thank you. So this report is somewhat of a carry forward from the corporate services gave some time for the review of the drainage report prepared by Tatham Engineering as drainage engineer for what we're calling Medante Drain 3. At the time, last meeting, we looked at the map and highlighted the area of impact for the assessment, which is probably the most important part of it. Oh, sorry. Oh, and so going through, really what we're looking for today is to simply accept the report. This is one of the steps in the municipal drain process. And because I heard a little bit of questions about process, we added a bit more in this report about what the processes were. So, from this date onward, we send out the notification to affected landowners, as well as the ministry and any adjacent municipalities that are impacted. Now, there are none. The county of Simcoe is widely impacted as it's on the county of Simcoe roadway, and they are assessed a pretty significant portion of the assessment. And so they will be circulated as well. They've already been involved in most of the process. And after this meeting, we will schedule what we call the meeting to consider the report. And this is where you'll have full public engagement and the drainage engineer attend the meeting, prepare a presentation on the report, identify how this does improve drainage for the areas requiring drainage, and ask any questions. And of course, there's opportunity for request to be reconsidered for assessment, be eliminated from the drain area, catchment area, things like that from the area residents affected.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion? Oh, Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
Just a question. So the Drainage Act basically is not democratic. Is that safe to say? So if the majority of the people don't want it, that's means nothing?
Yeah, so I mean, it's democratic in the sense that so council could decide not to accept the report. We wouldn't recommend that, right? The report has a valid petition, which we determined, through the drainage engineer. The drainage engineer feels that there is an area requiring drainage and that they have a solution. So I would say that, advancing the process. If a number of the assessed parties do object to this, then it may not, go all the way through, but there'll be an appeal from the areas requiring drainage. And then that's when you get into a bit of a court of revision, not court of revision, drainage referee, and at the tribunal, then someone would decide. So I think there's opportunity to show up opposition to the project, and that opposition will be heard by a third party. But you're right, it's not a vote system.
And just in summary, that I'll wait for the process to open up, but there's properties on Upper Big Chute Road where I question, they don't have any issues, period, and they're going to be hooked on this thing. And one or two property owners can disrupt 40 properties here.
Derek, who pays for all this? Like if we had to go to an appeal, like are we hooked for the money or who pays for it?
No, through the chair, the act's very clear and is probably one of the kind of most unique acts that we have in Ontario, where the proponent pays and the benefiting parties pay. So even if this process fails, the two petitioners would be subject to the costs incurred to date, for drainage engineering and so on and so forth. During the appeal process, the cost may vary. So the municipality may be held to cost. Basically, what I understand is during the process of appeal, the tribunal and particularly the drainage referee will decide who's paying what share of costs from any of the parties involved. So that could be, the County of Simcoe, the Township of Severn, anyone assessed on the assessment roll.
Thank you. Any further comments? Mayor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair, Derek, before we petitioned for this, was this a municipal drain?
No, through our record search, the records with the ministry, this is not a municipal drain at any point that we're aware of.
So the people who now may have to pay weren't aware of it because it wasn't one. Whereas before, anybody basically knew that the other municipal drains went through their property or found out when we had to clean them or do anything. Okay. I don't think it's very fair. I think the two people who want it should pay for it all, but hey, that's just me.
Councillor Minnings.
Thank you through the mayor. And just for further clarification, in your analysis section of the report, it says that, if council decides not to proceed, petitioners have the right to appeal. So we have that option to us without cost to us.
So the option exists. The appeal costs are undecided at this time, right? So the tribunal that would be hearing the case, if it was a valid petition and the municipality just felt like they did not want to see that petition advance forward, the municipality may be subject to the costs of the appeal process and the report, because that would be, decided at the tribunal or drainage referee hearing.
In a similar way, just as a follow-up, if we do approve for this to proceed, there could still potentially be costs to the township because the referee could still assign some of those costs to whoever the parties are, of which the council could definitely, or the township could be. So I think we risk a cost either way. So thank you. I would, all right, I know which way I'm decided.
Any further comments? Okay, Madam Clerk.
So the motion reads that
I'm here.
Oh.
I have my card up, Mike. I'm not sure if you can see me.
Sorry, Councillor Jansen. We can't. There you are. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. Through the chair to Director Burke. I appreciate the graph that you put here. I think that puts things into context. I do believe that the two petitioners are trying to develop this land, something that I guess they have the right to do. I do have a question or a couple of questions. One is just when we put this, or if we were to accept this petition today, that environmental appraisal that takes place in the next step, is there time afterwards to say no if environmental appraisal comes back suggesting that it's not suitable? This land's not, it's not good for the environment to put this municipal drain in. And then another question would be, if we were to say yes today, the notice is sent, it says here, I'm assuming that notice is sent to all affected property owners. And I just want to make sure, is it just the full report that will be sent to them that was given to us at our last meeting? And if so, will it be clearly highlighted what each of those landowners' costs would be?
Mr. Burke.
Thank you, through the mayor. So the first question about the decision to request an environmental appraisal, or there's a second type of report, is called a cost benefit analysis. That was actually decided a couple meetings back, where we presented it, and the request is, do you want to consider this? It would be paid for by the municipality to do those two reports. We also have the Ministry of Natural Resources that can decide that. They both responded nothing back, so neither party requested it. OMAFRA or the Ministry of Natural Resources did not request an environmental appraisal or a cost benefit analysis. So because the two parties that would typically do that did not, and the municipality also elected not to, which does make sense because that would put the cost onto the municipality to pay for those reports and that work. We moved past that little triangle box on the left side of the appendix. So we're actually at the triangle box at the very top left of the second page of the procedures scan that I had from our training. And so right now we're just deciding if this is going ahead or not as a municipality. So there's not a whole lot of options right now to go back to the environmental appraisal or cost benefit analysis.
Is that okay, Councillor Jansen? Wonder where he went.
He's there.
That answer fine, Councillor Jansen?
You're here. You're here. You're that green triangle. That's where you are in the process.
Sorry, can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Or hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You froze again for some reason.
Maybe if I unshare. He had computer issues this morning.
Yeah, I know. Let me just see where
There he is.
Dan is. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry about that. It ended up quitting on me. Allison, I think you were bringing up something on the screen. That's the last I saw.
Yeah, no, I was just bringing up the flow chart so council knew where we were in the process. So council has the decision today to proceed on, which is the recommendation, or is to decide not to proceed on. Either way, there's the next further step.
Well, I think Dan's second question.
What was your second question, Councillor Jansen?
The second question was, if we were to say yes to proceed, that the project should proceed, the report that's sent out to them, is it just going to be the package that we received May 28th meeting? And if so, will it be clearly defined what their costs are the cost to each landowner?
Mr. Burke.
Yeah, through the mayor. So the report will be sent to each affected party. The costs in the report, I suppose, is a little difficult to find. Like it's on, I don't know, I think it's a few pages in, and it's called the assessment schedule. But maybe what we can do to be clear is we could put a tab on each one showing your property is here. Because it does break down the cost for the original construction and then also the estimated cost for maintenance. So, the construction is the first part, but over the years, drains require, frequent maintenance. And so there's a cost proportionate schedule B, which is the maintenance schedule. So 2 tabs will be highlighted per property. I think is a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely appreciate that, just so it's clear what why they're receiving the report and what they should expect as the property owners. Are they also allowed to appeal, those property owners, if they felt that they should not be included, or that the costs are unjust?
Yeah, through the mayor, they're the most likely party to appeal. So yes, everyone who is assessed has the right to appeal.
Okay.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just in summary, looking at the flow chart, it might stop a lot of arrows and boxes if we said no and petitioners have the right to is that the OLT, the tribunal, or where does that go? And
Burke.
Through the chair, the clerk was just reminding me that there's actually two opportunities to sort of say no here. The second green box is after the big meeting. I call it the big meeting, but it's the meeting to consider the report where you truly have the drainage engineer here answering questions about the job. You have at that time you'll have knowledge of anyone who is not interested in this process. So perhaps our recommendation is still, we do recommend proceeding with the drain and not being at this first green box no, but I suppose you still have the opportunity to have a second green box no after hearing a bit more from the drainage engineer and people who may be opposed to this.
So just to clarify, we are on the right-hand side page that says, should the project proceed, right? But you're right. Then we go down to the, I don't know what you call that, a triangle, where it says engineer. It's got a special name. Engineer is the petition still valid? So it says right there, I see a stop sign, so we can stop it there if we want. Does that what I'm seeing? Okay, that's all I want to know is that stop sign says we go here, then everybody hears what's going up. We do what we do. Council gives the owners opportunity to add or withdraw. Then you say the engineer comes here, is it still valid? And then there's that stop sign on the right. We can, and the original petitioners pay. So we have a chance there. Okay, that's clear. All right, thank you.
Councillor Minnings.
Okay, so on the flow chart, I guess it's a process map. The first green triangle at the top is clear, and that's a decision for council. Go forward or no. Then the orange decision point. So, sorry, the next one down, again, council has the opportunity to stop or start the project to proceed. If it says no, petitioners have the right to appeal, but above that, it appears that that there's already is there already a cost to the residents at that point of the second no?
So through the chair, right now, the costs that have been bared are against the drain. And so they would be apportioned to the residents that would be impacted. But I want to just clarify that basically the orange and the green and the orange triangle basically happen at one meeting on June 25th. And so the drainage engineer will be here presenting the report. That's the yellow one. The petition or the petitioners will be involved as well, but the people that were assessed will also be here most likely and have their arguments either for or against the drain ready. And at the very end of that meeting, the engineer will still have to make a decision. Is this, after hearing about, the concerns and probably having a room full of people here discussing things, the engineer still needs to make a final decision. Is this still valid? If it's not valid, then those costs, including anything borne to date, is in that stop block there, the red one. And the petitioners do pay for basically anything that's been incurred to date. No further costs to anyone that isn't a petitioner. After the green box, which is after the 25th, then we get into the range of a provisional bylaw, I believe, and the more formal opportunity for appeal, court of revision to change the assessments, stuff like that.
So just so I'm crystal clear before I vote, the first time a resident on that street or in this will be charged anything or being billed something, a cost, a financial, incur any kind of financial charge for this work is when council either provisionally adopts or not, but there's no charges to them up until that point. So if we approve today, there's no cost to any of those residents. The process continues until it comes back after the engineer makes their next determination. And then council has our second, so still no cost to any of those residents. At the second time it comes to council for decision, after the engineer gives their opinion, that's when the charges could go to the residents. I really want to protect the residents from having any charges, and I just need to be crystal clear at what point that could trigger that.
Yeah, through the chair, it's a process, right? So, in effect, if it's valid, then the charges incurred already will be put onto those homes, right? So just to be clear that, and right down to the final block, which is project complete, the tender price for the work may be higher or lower. 33%, I think, is one of the trigger thresholds for change. And so, when the costs for construction come in is really when the first time a homeowner will say, okay, now I have to pay $2,300, for this drain. Is it really basically near the end? They'll know what their assessment is now. It's in the report, but that's really based on an estimate.
Councillor Jansen.
Thank you. And through the chair, just listening to the conversation there, another question came up. So in terms of timelines, so the first that these property owners that will have to pay, not the petitioners, because of course the petitioners know that they've got these costs coming up, the other property owners, will be when they receive a mail out from the township with that report. And then they're expected to be at a meeting 20 days from today, or 21 days from today, to voice their opinions. That seems a bit aggressive of a timeline for me.
Yeah, through the chair or through the mayor, it does seem like an aggressive timeline. It's difficult because the act actually specifies this timeline. I believe the requirement is to have it within 30 days of this meeting, and not less than, I think, 10 days after they've been. So the act is very prescriptive about timing. I'm not entirely sure what the intent of that was, but there are thresholds. So we picked a date that meets both the minimum and maximum days in between. And we have letters prepared and ready, more or less, to send out after this meeting to make sure that we capture as much of the time as possible.
Councillor Jansen, is that okay?
Yeah, sounds like we're following the rules, so that's okay.
So I just have a comment. Just refresh my memory. So any of the residents now that are going to be affected by this drainage works, are they aware what's happening, or that someone has actually made a request? So the person, and you can't tell me who the person is, I assume it's a numbered company that's made a request to have, no?
No.
Okay, their names are there. So do we know how many people are going to be affected? Just a rough idea.
I think it was 15 or so.
15. Okay. So now they're going to get a letter this week in the mail, if there's no mail strike, stating that they're going to get charged because we're going to have the engineer. Do we have any idea what the charge is going to be if after the meeting on the 25th, council decides not to move forward with it? Like, do we have a rough idea? And I know it's based on frontage. Each homeowner will get a different bill, or is it not?
No, through the mayor. So it's not based on frontage. It's based on an assessment, like methodology by the drainage engineer on how much that land that they own would contribute to the drainage issue of the areas requiring drainage. And then there's a whole convoluted, there's benefit, then there's outlet liabilities, and there's even some allowances. There's a few properties that actually will get paid, in effect, to allow for this drain to exist on their property. And so all of that is detailed in the assessment schedule. So it's fairly clear about how much we anticipate each property, right down to the dollar, is going to pay. And that's only really based on if the construction costs are around that number, right? So
if we were to say no now, what would happen? Just so I have a better understanding before I make a decision.
Just focus. I hear that council is sort of working themselves up to a no. I think we would recommend that you go through the process and hear from the engineer first, because I think either way you're going to be in an appeal. Either the petitioner is going to appeal or the landowners are going to appeal. But I think it's better for us to hear what the engineers say first, so you have a no based on some science, rather than we don't want other people to pay. That's kind of the tricky place. The other people don't, to answer Mayor Burkett's question, the other people don't pay unless you say yes at the next time. So up until the next time, if you say no at the next time, then the costs go back to petitioners. The petitioners can still appeal, but the costs stop there. There's no cost to the residents.
Sorry, Madam CEO. Thank you for that, but I'm still confused. So we're having the engineer come on the 25th. There is a cost to have that engineer here, correct? So, and it's divided among the 15 landowners, correct?
No, depending on whether
Okay.
you say yes or no. If you say yes, then it's divided between the landowners based on the assessment that the drainage engineer provides. If you say no, then it's to the petitioners.
So who pays for this engineer that's coming on the 25th if we say no?
Depends on whether you say yes or no.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, now I've got clarity. Okay, thank you. Councillor Taylor.
That answered my question. So, yeah.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Can these letters go out special delivery? No, I'm serious. Like, I don't know what's going on with the post office, or if something happens, and at least we can say somebody didn't pick up their mail one day, or somebody went away and didn't get it. And that way we can say, hey, we did this, and so it gets there. And if we do go on strike, I guess we're going to have to figure out a way, or would it be just as easy to go drop them at their door? Probably would be more sufficient, but we know they actually got there.
So through the mayor, we'll do our best efforts, and I think, you know, given the unique circumstances of Canada Post, you know, we might have to do both, right? The act specifies that you send it, so we probably should have a receipt that we sent it. But there's really no harm in sort of trying to make contact as well. So I mean, we'll do everything we can to make sure that these people get, you know, the report and understand the impact and understand the special date. That's the 25th.
Thank you. I think that's important. Thanks.
So further to that, do the letters state that at this time there's no cost incurred until the 25th or do we, like, we're not going to put any monies, like there's going to be no money? What if we decide yes on the 25th?
We've done it before.
Okay. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you. And through the chair, just on the box, and I see it a couple of times in the slide on, the flow chart on the second page. Council gives owners opportunity to add or withdraw names from the petition. And then the number 42 there. So if people were to come forward to us or write us or come to the meeting and they're asking to be withdrawn from the petition, do we have the authority to say yes to that?
Mr. Burke.
Yeah, through the chair, this is pretty much why the drainage engineer is involved. If someone says, you know, I don't want to be part of this. If the drainage catchment area is maybe not clearly, you know, accurate and it's true, they're not really part of this, then the drainage engineer will change the assessment, change the drainage area, and recognize the comment from the party that, oh yes, we've made a mistake here. That's one avenue. The other one is says, no, I don't want to be part of this. Well, the drainage engineer will say, well, that's great, but you are part of this, right? Your lands are generating water that negatively affects this other landowner's property and they require drainage. This is the fundamental principle of the Drainage Act. It is a controversial act, 100%. It is a somewhat forced cost onto property owners that generate runoff that have a negative effect downstream. You'll see the opportunity to join is because a lot of times this is used in farming. And in an agricultural system, you may have 3 or 4 fields that could be much more productive because of this work. And, you know, the 3 or 4 neighbors say, hey, I'd like to jump on board with this too. Like, I'm going to join the petition because this is a great idea. The persons that are upstream are going to hate it because they're generating water, but they're higher, so they're drier. They don't care, you know, but they're going to bear a cost because they generate water.
So I got it now. We need the drainage engineer here to give clarity where we can ask those questions and the public can ask their questions as well. They'll get clarity. Okay. Is everyone okay? All right. Councillor Jansen?
Yeah.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Okay, so the motion reads that Public Works Report W25-012 dated June 4th, 2025, with respect to petition for drainage works update be received, and the council directs staff to proceed with notice under section 41(1) of the Drainage Act and schedule the meeting to consider the final report for June 25th, 2025.
Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to, do we need a bio break? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. We're back. So we're on administration J 3.1, administration report number A25-020, council procedural bylaw amendment, strong mayor powers. Madam Clerk, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. These are just housekeeping items at this point. I am bringing forward a complete comprehensive review of our council procedural bylaw to August committee. My goal is to bring forward the concept of actually switching how council operates and its structure entirely. So we'd move from a council committee system, which is what we have now, to a council committee of the whole system, which is more what you see at the county, Midland, Innisfil, Tiny, a bunch. It would mean that we would no longer have planning and development committee or corporate services. Everything would be on one agenda, and we'd move from council into committee of the whole and back into council. But that is entirely a discussion for a different day. This is just housekeeping updates related to strong mayor powers for today. And I do think they're fairly self-explanatory. There are some municipalities that are putting in every single motion that needs to be passed by council. And there's a lot that aren't, because that's in the legislation, and council procedure bylaws don't need to be a duplicate of legislation. We just need to have the pieces that we need to have. So.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Councillor Minings.
Hi, just a couple quick, and thank you for that. I look forward to seeing that. Would that include, you mentioned the two committees of council currently, would that include other committees such as Committee of Adjustment, for example?
So Committee of Adjustments under the Planning Act, so its scope, authority, and mandate and makeup is legislated. There are some municipalities where it's members of council. There are some members where it's a mix. There's some members, some places where it's entirely the public. Severance, as far back as I know of, has always operated as just members of the public. Council has not sat on that committee. But in general terms, the committees themselves, like Culture and Recreation and Committee of Adjustment, the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, all those, we bring forward the terms of reference at the start of the new term. So it's up to the next council to decide what committees they want to see recruited for and appointed for on their next council. We did that at the start of this one. So if you were to go to the first meeting back in December of 2022.
Dan's waiting.
Oh,
excuse me.
If you go back to December 2022, council considered a report for me. And at the time, there were different proposals, and council decided to pursue some and not pursue others. And that is where we tend to go. Also, going into the start of next year, it is normally my practice to do a comprehensive review of all of the existing committees' terms of references. And so it's part of that holistic piece. What I'm looking at in August is how council and standing committee works, which is with the idea of maybe trying to find a way to advance, approvals and bylaws and such faster, which I know has been an issue for council.
Okay, thank you. So just in follow up, so then just from what I've been researching is that, and I only mentioned Committee of Adjustment because to me, it doesn't really fit any of those current boxes, in that it makes a decision and the decision doesn't come back to council. So I'm also on Culture and Rec, and makes a decision, and then the decision comes back. So I do see it as a little bit of an anomaly, and from my own, and so what I was asking is that if you have an opportunity to bring back the planning and development, like other suggestions, I see that one as being something that I would say should be included, and not just at the start of a council year when we're talking about membership. So to me, that was just my point on that one. The second thing I just wanted is on the first page of your proposed bylaw amendment under number 115.10 A and B. It's just wording. There's I think a word missing. So the phrase says members shall either take no action, but two of those bullet points start with that the matter be referred. So I think there's just a verb missing there, and that was my only comment. Thank you.
If I can, so our current council procedural bylaw identifies that we have three different types of committees. We have standing committees, which is Corporate Services and Planning and Development Committee. We have quasi judicial, which is where Committee of Adjustment and our Property Standards Committee falls under. We do have two. Their decisions are straight to appeal. They're not subject to approval by council. And then we have advisory committees. So that is where Culture and Recreation sits. That is where Accessibility Advisory Committee sits. It's where Economic Development Advisory sits. So we do have 3 different types of committees. One thing to note is that on the standing committee piece, because those are committees completely made up of council, that is one is directly impacted by strong mayor powers. So the quasi-judicial and the advisory committee ones are not at this point in time. So just by way of clarification, so yes, Committee of Adjustment is not our only quasi-judicial committee.
Taylor.
Just a question. I think I've seen somewhere, can council members be part of Committee of Adjustment?
Madam CEO.
Yes, I just wanted to circle back to something Councillor Minnings was asking, because I'm not sure that that was clear or understood. Because it's quasi-judicial, it's governed under the Planning Act, not the Municipal Act. So there isn't an opportunity for council to decide that Committee of Adjustment should be under council. The Committee of Adjustment makes their decisions, and the appeal mechanism is to the OLT. There's no opportunity for council to get involved. I think that's what you were asking. The only input that council has on Committee of Adjustment is the makeup, as the clerk has said. I've seen all of council. I've seen 2 members of council and members of the public, and I've seen all members of the public. So the answer to your question is yes. I've lived through all 3 scenarios, and my experience was that council typically were fighting not to be on Committee of Adjustment. Because no matter what the decision you make, someone is unhappy, and it gets very messy. You decide very personal neighbor things. So in Georgian Bay, there used to be 2 members of council on Committee of Adjustment, and they always fought for, no, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn, until they went to the method that we have here, where it's members of the public who want to do it. So not saying you can't do it, just saying I've seen it go badly. So,
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Councillor Jansen, you okay? Yep. Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Thank you. That the motion reads that, that's the last item. That Administration Report 825-020 dated June 4th, 2025 regarding council procedural bylaw amendments, strong mayor powers be received, and that the required amending bylaw be brought forward immediately.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Minnings. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to new business K1, correspondence from the county clerk, request to consider consent of County of Simcoe bylaw 7119-25 to change the composition of county council, deferred from May 7th, 2025 council. So the report's very well written. The only thing I'm going to add is at last week's county council meeting, and why we deferred it was the recorded vote section that we were going to have a discussion about that went to the governance committee. Interesting enough, if I was in favor of 16, and what happened was the governance committee came back with 3 recommendations. We voted on it. And when they asked for a vote on the recorded vote portion, and when they asked for a recorded vote, it triggers a weighted vote. They asked for a recorded vote on the weighted portion section. So we lost again. But how ridiculous is it for them to ask for a recorded vote on a recorded vote? It makes no sense. So I am going to, and it's just me, I would just leave it the way it is. Status quo, 32 members, because if we go to a 16-member county council composition, 5 members can now run the whole county. And I just can't support that. I don't know if you have any questions or how you would like to proceed, but I'm happy to listen. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you. And just a question about this. So it looks like we need like a triple approval process. So I'm wondering, I'm assuming we're a lower tier council. I'm just wondering, if you've spoken to some of the other lower tier councils and if they're their thinking is the same.
Thank you for that. So the city of Midland has voted status quo, 32 members, and their mayor was adamant and in favor of the weighted vote, but their council saw the merit in leaving it the way it is, so that you have a deputy mayor and mayor. If you had a strong mayor that wanted his way, at least now with the deputy mayor present, you'd have 32. So it would be fair when they asked for that recorded vote. And the town of Agilitas also voted to leave it status quo, 32 members. Councilor Jan?
Yeah, supplemental. So if we were to decide the same, we would be voting no to the resolution that's going to be put forward to us, or sorry, the motion.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
So all that would need in the county would be 9 municipalities, I think. Is that correct? Is it 9, Madam CEO?
Sorry, that wasn't why I had my hand up. It's 2/3 of, I think it's 2/3 of, it's triple majority, right? So 2/3 of the municipalities and 2/3 that represent 2/3 of the population. So I'm not sure how many that is, but I was just going to point out, not that it needs to make a difference in your decision, but when we were at the county conference last week and MPP Saunderson spoke, gave a clear indication that the province is looking for the county to downsize. So even if you vote no and everyone votes no, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw it legislated anyways.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
My response to that is then let them do it, because we have tried to work with the other members and they just don't want to listen. And the response, and well, that's as far as I'm going to go.
Councilor Jansen.
Thank you. Just in terms of the CAO's comments, I'm reading it to see that the triple majority means that all 3 of the items that are listed on the report, the majority of votes on county council in favor, the majority of lower tier councils passing resolutions consenting to the bylaw, and then the lower tier councils consenting to the bylaw represent a majority of all electors in the upper tier municipality. Like all 3 of those things need to be achieved for this to occur. And that the majority would just be a simple majority, 50% plus 1.
Madam Clerk.
The long and the short of it is if the 2/3 of the lower tier county municipalities do not support or consent to the change, then the bylaw will fail. So that's the Coles Notes version of it. So if council did not want to, all they would do on the motion is insert the words, so the council of the Township of Severn does not consent. So it really is up to council to choose what they want to do on the matter. This is very much a countywide concern. There are a couple that have voted in favor. I do want to make sure that is out there as well. Not every municipality has voted against. And there's a lot that still have yet to make a decision. There's a lot that are still going through their councils over the course of this month. So because the county doesn't need to know before the end of June. So I just want to put that out.
Thank you. Councilor Taylor.
I support the mayor and deputy mayor. Leave it the way it is. And I've seen them in action and they're doing a good job there and I'll support them.
Other comments? Councilor McIntyre.
Thank you through the chair. I think that what we're doing is running around in circles. I think the CAO made it very clear after the comments of the MPP that doesn't matter what we do, they're going to decide what they're going to change it if they choose to. However, I'm in support of the mayor and the deputy mayor on this issue as well.
Further comments? Madam Clerk.
Thank you. So the motion reads then that the Council of the Township of Severn does not consent to the County Simcoe bylaw 7119-25 being a bylaw to change the composition of council for the Corporation of the County of Simcoe, and a copy of this resolution be sent to the county clerk.
Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councilor McIntyre, second by Councilor Brennan. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to announcements. Any announcements? None. No closed session, or we did already. Bylaws, general bylaws, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Motion reads that bylaws number 2025-38 and 2025-39 are hereby passed.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Brennan, second by Councilor Taylor. All in favor? It's carried. Oh, sorry, Councilor Minnings.
My apologies. Hope I got that up in time. I just have a question on the bylaw 2025-39. I read it, and is it just one property that this bylaw is addressing? I'm not really clear on.
It's two.
It's,
It's
oh, the two properties.
380 and 3382. Ascona. The addresses are noted on the tail end of the bylaw description.
So, and this may be a preemptive question in case I get a call, but, or maybe for my own understanding, were these two addresses not considered when the original bylaw went through? I guess is my question. I'm just curious as to why these properties came up now. It's a small amount, but I just don't know where it came from.
I'm gonna leave that question for the Director of Finance.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Andrew.
Yes.
If I can, through the mayor to Councillor Minnings. This is really just an exercise. This is somebody who's severed the property and wants to build on it. So the original debenture was on the one parcel only. And now it's because it's being split, it's just effectively splitting those debenture costs between the two properties.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank you. Do we need to read that again? Or are we okay? All right. Confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk.
Believes that bylaw number 2025-40 is hereby passed.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, second by Councillor Minnings. All in favor? It's carried. And adjournment, Madam Clerk. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor or Deputy Mayor Cox, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? That's carried. Have a good day, Dan.
You.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.